Good morning. Thank you for joining ENTC 2160 Architectural CAD. Today we're going to talk about using our hatch option for AutoCAD. And there are many ways that you can access hatching on AutoCAD or in AutoCAD. Up to this point, we've been talking about selecting objects, dragging down, getting things that we want to get. Now I'm going to share some other ways that we can access some of the same tools. You can go into your drop down, you can find the hatch and then begin to hatch. You'll see a little swatch that you can locate to do that. Or at the command line is where we also type in commands to get what we want. So in this case, if I want to hatch something, I can type in the letter B, hatch, B-H-A-T-C-H, or just hatch. So let's just type in hatch, H-A-T-C-H, and see what happens. So once we select hatch, in this case, you don't see much of anything. So let's type in B, the letter B, hatch. Hit enter, and what you see here are some hatch patterns that we have. There are a couple things that you need to know, first of all, and that is there are various ways that you can use hatch. Typically when we're doing kitchens, sometimes we want to put a pattern on the countertops. Sometimes if you're doing a floor in a room, you want to put a pattern on the floor. So we can use hatching for a lot of things. When we start talking about wall sections and we want to put show the earth at the bottom of the wall section around the foundation, what we have to do is hatch a space and use that hatch pattern earth. And then we may have a pipe or something that we don't want to hatch. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how you can hatch some areas and how you can avoid some areas that you don't want to hatch. So let's start out by once you type in B hatch, you have some options up here. So you want to choose like whatever pattern you want. There are a lot of patterns. We have ENTC standards. These are numbers that you have here, and there are a lot of patterns. Typically, folks will have catalogs where they can go in and see what number corresponds to a certain pattern, and they use that. But in here, AutoCAD, we have options that you can see. So you can literally go in and see some of the sample patterns that are in here. So any of these patterns you have access to. You have access to all of these particular patterns. So let's just stick with the angle one for now. But first, before you actually try to apply a hatch pattern, what is interesting is that you have to have a boundary that will contain your hatching. Your boundary have to be totally connected. So it's like a circle. You can't have any breaks in your boundary. So whether you're doing a circle or you're doing a polygon or a square, rectangle, whatever you're doing, it has to be totally enclosed for your hatch to work. So in this case, if I were to go in here and try to hatch this space right here, what is totally enclosed, if you follow the cursor, it goes around, but then it goes out into the door area, and it comes around and then goes out into the door area again. Well, if we were going to hatch this, I wouldn't want to include this space. So what I need to do is create a boundary first that we're going to hatch. So let me first go back to a line. I'm going to use a line tool, just a basic line. And I want to turn on my endpoints again because I want my snapping to be on. So I want to start here in this corner. And just come around and create a boundary where I want to hatch. I think I started in that corner. And once you do that, right click, hit enter. So now I should have a boundary here. So if we want to hatch again, we can go back to right, as you can see here, this is that hatch option here. Remember I said before, you can do a pull down and get your hatch, or you can type in B hatch at the command line. I'm just trying to introduce you to other ways you can do it. So if we go back to hatch, you can select the angle pattern that we wanted here. You select the hatch icon, then select whatever pattern you want, and you can choose any pattern. I'm going to choose the angle pattern, and that allows me to put that pattern inside of here. One thing that I have to caution you on, though, is when you're creating this pattern, sometimes, let me just select this for an example. Hit escape and me select it. I'm going to select a pattern, and if I go to my properties dialog box, it's very important that you understand certain things here. In this case, this is the scale. If the scale is too small or too large, the pattern may not show up. So sometimes you could think that what you're doing is incorrect. So what you want to do initially is, and assuming that the pattern doesn't show up and you follow the steps that I've demonstrated, go to your scale. Because for an example, if I were to select this and the scale is 1, hit enter, your pattern goes away. It's not that it has gone away, it's just scaled down so low that you don't see it. So if you were doing this, and you just put this in here and it doesn't show up, it may be that the default scale that you have is so small that it just doesn't see it. So go in and select something, select 50 or 100 or something that's extremely larger or smaller than what you have, and the pattern will actually show up. So that becomes extremely important. Now, what I want to do is to also demonstrate that what if you had an area that that was included in here that you didn't want to hatch. So let me delete this. And I want to put maybe a circle in here. And in that space where that circle is, I do not want to hatch that. So we still go through the same process. Select the space that you want to hatch. Where I have that circle, it did not hatch. So sometimes you may have an object on a plan that you don't want to hatch. Just go ahead and leave that object on there, and that will allow you to hatch around it. It's that simple. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope this video is helpful as the other ones may have been as well. So thank you.